Hi, and welcome to Book Chat with Julie. I'm Julie with the Argenta Branch Library, part of the Lehman Library System in North Little Rock, Arkansas. All summer long and going into the fall, I've tried to bring you different literary genres, literary themes, and today's book chat will be no different. Amish fiction. Probably maybe you didn't even know there was a huge fascination with Amish fiction. Amish romance is a literary subgenre of Christian fiction featuring Amish characters. However, there are many authors that have chosen Amish settings for their novels, and those some people might say are more secular. I was born in Tuscola, Illinois, and we lived in Arthur, Illinois for the first year and a half of my life. That's where my dad's family is all from. They're all from the central Illinois region, and that is also the heart of Amish country. We're not Amish, but we have many Amish friends. People that worked on the farms with my dad's family. So some of my favorite, there's my word, favorite, Amish items that I can't talk about Amish and not share a few things. I do have in the front, I have some chocolate whoopie pies, and those actually, I ordered them. I don't know if there's anybody in Arkansas that can make them, but I did order them from Pennsylvania. And another one of my favorites that my dad and I actually used to make before Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, sometimes throughout the year on other special holidays, but those two for sure, is we would make homemade egg noodles. His theory was you boil them low and slow, and you never let the chicken broth get over the noodles, and you just keep adding, and you just keep letting them boil. And then the key to knowing if you're really from our part of the family is at Thanksgiving, when you fix your plate, the noodles are the last thing to go on your plate, and they go over the whole plate, not just your mashed potatoes, or not just on the side. So we could always kind of tell who was a visitor by if they put their noodles on the whole plate. Maybe not the healthiest choice, but those homemade egg noodles cooked in chicken broth for many hours are pretty good. So some of my other things that because you all already know that I'm a collector, I do have a prayer cap. This one is actually a married woman's prayer cap because it has the black ties on it. I have an Amish doll, and then just my love of baskets. Just some are from central Illinois and some are not. Some are from Ohio. But anyway, let me teach you a little bit about Amish fiction. So there's many different groups, religions, and cultures that make up our country. That's what makes us unique. And that's what makes us a great America. And within each of these cultures, religions, different groups, different families, there's always lessons that we can learn. Throughout Amish stories, whether it is the Christian fiction type Amish stories or whether it's on the secular side, there's always going to be recurring thoughts because that is who the Amish are. And I think that we all strive to be that way. But you're always going to hear the recurring thoughts of grace, goodness, mercy, forgiveness, and kindness. Psalms 51:10 is also a recurring scripture that you will see a lot, either spoken by somebody's quote that's speaking about it in the book, or maybe it's just on a title page. And this is a scripture that I've had, typed out on my mirror because it is something that I try to think about daily. And that is Psalms 51:10, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." And again, I think no matter what walk of life you're coming from, or we're coming from, or I'm coming from, I think we all strive to have a clean heart and a renewed spirit. There are many different styles of languages within the Amish. English, obviously, is one. And then there's Pennsylvania, German, or Dutch. And then there's many different dialects within that. German Dutch is what you're going to see the most when you read an Amish fiction book, whether it's Christian or secular. And a lot of the books, a lot of the authors, they will kind of put a glossary in the front or the back, and they'll kind of help you, now what did they say? And so when you see that, I kind of have to refer back sometimes to say, oh, that means thank you, thank you. So if you are an avid Amish fiction reader, then you are all too familiar with the likes of Beverly Lewis and Wanda Brunstetter. And those are probably, if you started reading Amish fiction even like 20 years ago, that's probably the ones you cut your teeth on, was Beverly Lewis and Wanda Brunstetter. And the Wanda Brunstetter series, she actually has one, and it's the Prairie State Friends series. There's three books in the series, and this one is actually set in Arthur, Illinois. And in central Illinois and the Rockholm Gardens, kind of all my family stomping grounds. So that series was one that I really enjoyed. And that's the Prairie State Friends series. One of the things that I was going to do during this particular book chat, and if you've been following me, you're probably wondering, hey, something's missing. I was going to introduce you, this particular book chat, to Kathleen Fuller. She's a local author, and we kind of made connections back in the spring at the beginning of COVID. We were on a Facebook Live together, and I was like, hey, you live near me. And she was like, hey, you live near me. And then we had some connections. But Kathleen Fuller has written over 30 Christian Amish books. And she has one that came out just in the middle of COVID, and it's called Amish Generations. And I'm not going to talk a lot about it because, like I said, she was going to be here for this, and we were going to kind of do a chat interview during this book chat, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, thanks to COVID, thanks to just the way things are, we had to postpone that. And so I'm looking forward to still having that chat with her, and I want her to be able to talk about her books. And she actually is part of a Christmas book that will be coming out. One of the things that I have learned is that a lot of the Christian authors, they kind of join together and they write a lot of novellas. And that's, it's down here, it's the Amish Homecoming is one of them. And there'll be 4 or 5 authors that will go in together, and each one will have kind of a section of the book. And those are always little fun reads as well. So some of the authors that, if somebody comes up to the counter at the library and they say, hey, I need some Amish fiction, then I point them right to Amy Clipston, Shelley Shepherd Gray, and Suzanne Woods Fisher. And if you, as I've said most all of the book chats, if you go to Hoopla and Libby, if you like to ebook or audiobook, Hoopla has hundreds. I know I said that about the Olympic books too, but there are multiple Amish Christian fiction ebooks and audiobooks available through Hoopla. We do have them on our shelves in the library. A lot of the Amish books that we do have in the library will actually come in large print. So if that's something that is attractive to you, then let me find them on the shelves for you, and I can try to find you the large print version. So there's many Amish fiction that are standalones. Like I was showing you that this one is actually a three-part series. They don't always come out at once, as you know that doesn't happen because you have to wait your turn until the next one comes. But as far as Amish, the Christian fiction, if they're in a set, the covers are going to say book 1, book 2, book 3. I would suggest that you read them in order. They flow. A lot of the authors will then maybe a year later have Christmas at Sugar Creek. And what that does is that's going to bring everybody that was in book 1, book 2, and book 3 back together for the holidays. So a lot of them do follow up in the future after they've written their series with a Christmas or a homecoming or a picnic book or something, a family reunion. And they will kind of bring all the characters back together. A little more on the secular side is a author that I found maybe not quite 10 years ago, but Linda Castillo. And her first book was Sworn to Silence. And her books, and she just had a new one come out called The Outsider, and that one just actually came out in the last month. Her books follow Detective Kate Burkholder of Painter Mills, Ohio, and they're thrillers and they're suspense. Kate Burkholder is the detective. She grew up in the Amish community. She left the community and became a police officer and detective, and she's now the town's Painter Mills main detective, main police chief. And so you're going to follow her story throughout all of Linda's books. But those are definitely can be standalones, and there's probably 10 books in her group of just the Amish of her Amish books. One of the books that we found is Aaron Bates. I'm not sure this is in the library, to be honest, and I'm sorry about that. If you really want to know, read it, then you might be able to give me a call and I'll see what I can work out with you. I'm sorry again that I didn't look on Hoopla, but Erin Bates, and she wrote the story, Her Amish Man. And this is actually considered a secular author. There was a crime. This is based on a true story, even though it's a fictional book. It's based on a true story. There was a crime in the courthouse, actually in St. Louis. And somebody in the crime scene needed to go into basically a witness protection, and they took her to a Amish farm community in Arthur, Illinois, which is where I lived. So again, another one set in place settings that I'm familiar with, and I know a little bit about. So I've kind of enjoyed reading those. So in Amish fiction, as we end up here, no matter what style you choose, whether it's the Christian fiction versions or whether it's the secular, or if you listen to it, if you read it read it through an ebook, no matter what style you do choose, the one thing that I've learned, especially during these last few months, is it's an old saying that reading takes you somewhere when you can't go anywhere. Well, I have picked some of these back up, and I know that reading some of these in a more simpler genre during these last few months has actually been comforting and refreshing. So whichever genre you pick, I hope that you can find a good Amish series. Another secret about most of the Amish books is somewhere in the book, if not at the back, there's going to be some recipes. And who can't pass out some good old comfort food? There's the whoopie pie recipe, there's noodle recipe, there's a broccoli salad recipe, and a lot of them, that's kind of a popular salad amongst the Amish. Again, all cultures, all families, all walks of life, we all have our favorites of what we do at gatherings. And if it's broccoli salad is one of them, then broccoli salad is one of them. So I hope that you have enjoyed learning a little bit about the Amish, and watch our Facebook page over the next couple months for when I do get to have that interview with Kathleen. She has, like I said, she has a new one that just came out, and then she's part of one of the, she has a novella in one of the Christmas books that's going to come out, I think the beginning of November. So we will try to do a little interview chat where she and I can just sit here and chat and maybe have some tea and coffee, or maybe some shoe fly pie. And talk about her books. So I don't want to take away from her getting to explain the books. Amish Generations, I will tell you just very quickly that it does span, it's 4 different stories, and it talks about 4 different walks of life through life. There's a young married couple, there's a dating couple, there's an older couple, and each one makes up their own story. But it certainly gives a good insight of the different generations within the Amish family. So that will be a video coming out. Just watch our Facebook page, and I hope you've enjoyed the Amish Fiction video and enjoy the cooler weather that they say is coming, hopefully. And I will see you again in October, where I will be featuring cozy mysteries. That's a whole nother genre as well. So I can't wait to bring you some cozy mysteries and some of my favorite Halloween treats and decorations. So thank you again for joining Book Chat with Julie, and I will see you in October.